What is good, WWE Universe? Welcome, everyone, to Faces and Heels, your podcast for professional wrestling here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the recap and reaction to WWE Clash in Italy, the latest PLE from WWE, and this marks the first time the WWE has held a PLE or pay-per-view or a live stream event from Italy. So this was a monumental, historic PLE for WWE. Will it live up to the billing? Will we get a historic card? Well, it was shaped up. If you look on paper, this looked like a WrestleMania level type card. You had 5 matches tonight. 5. Well, I say tonight, but it was probably night in Italy, but it was the middle of the day on Sunday, which I wasn't mad at. I actually enjoyed the fact that this takes place in the middle of a Sunday. You know, it had that sports feel to it. If you're a football fan, it just felt like a sporting event, which wrestling is a sport. You know, scripted, but a sport nonetheless. But you had 5 matches tonight. You had the Undisputed WWE Championship on the line. Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. You had the WWE Women's Championship on the line. Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. A grudge match between a quote-unquote retired Brock Lesnar seeking vengeance against Femi, and the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship was on the line. Becky Lynch putting that title on the line against Ruca, and tribal combat for the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. This is a stacked card. And, you know, as much as WWE has its weekly programming, it is hard to watch. It is hard to watch. It really is. It's boring. The storytelling isn't there. And I'm talking on any show, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. It's just been bad. And then the PLEs have been lackluster. Now, the Saturday night's main event that took place a couple of weeks ago, I actually enjoyed. That was probably the best PLE they put on, if that counts as a PLE, in a long while. And that includes WrestleMania and Backlash. That was a really good card. And my God, this show had the unfortunate task to follow AAA last night. That AAA Lucha Libre card from WWE and AAA mass versus mass between El Grande Americano and the OG El Grande Americano. Match of the year. Story of the year. That whole card was awesome. And we only had a few hours and we flipped right into this. It's a tall task to equal up, not surpass, but just equal up to what we experienced on that. Shouts out to The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, all the people there at AAA who put all that together. That AAA has been awesome. That's the one thing out of WWE I have thoroughly enjoyed over the last 6 to 8 months. I have had a good time watching AAA. The matches have been good. The stories have been, it's like old school wrestling that I remember watching growing up, and I have enjoyed it immensely, especially that El Grande Americano storyline that was just, I don't know what it started off to be and where was the end goal when they initially started it off with Chad Gable, but where it ended up last night was cinema. Absolute cinema. You know that meme with Martin Scorsese. It is that. Man, I got emotional. I was cheering. I got all sweaty. Everything about that was amazing. I truly, truly enjoyed it. Now, with all that being said, did I think Clash in Italy was going to live up to that? No, I was not going into this expecting that level of storytelling or even matches. But I must say, this was a vast improvement. This was a real good card. I enjoyed all 5 matches on this card. I'm shocked by it, to be honest with you. I really had to think for a minute before I started recording, because I didn't want to speak out of turn and say something and then come back, a week, or not even a week, a couple of days later, and after thinking it through, like, no, it wasn't that good. But after thinking about it long and hard, I really have not too many complaints coming out of Clash in Italy. Now, there are some things that we're going to go over as we break down these matches that I didn't too much care for. But overall, as an overall PLE, I was thoroughly entertained. Now, I will say this before we get into the matches here. WWE, they're so confusing, bro. It's like, do they do stupid stuff on purpose just to infuriate people? Now, I'm not infuriated by this. I'm just a little thrown off by it. You have a superstar like Julia, right? Julia is legit Italian. She's mixed. But she's Italian. Speaks fluent Italian. She wrestled in Italy. Her roots are there. Why wasn't she on this card? Why wasn't she a part of this show? It's just dumb. It's missed. It's money on the table that they just. I don't get them. I just don't get them at times. But let's go over what was on this show. Let's jump into it. Okay. As you all know, the first 2 matches, this new thing that WWE does since they moved their PLEs over to ESPN, they open up with the first 2 matches are on ESPN, the ESPN proper, not for free because you're paying for basic cable, but basically free. So the first 2 matches, the Undisputed WWE Championship and the WWE Women's Championship matches, were on ESPN. Now, I'm not mad at it. It's just weird. And even more weird, as of late, ever since they started doing that, more often than not, the best matches have been on the ESPN portion of the shows. I don't know why they do that. I guess to hook people in to go ahead and purchase the app so you can watch the remainder. You think this was good? Oh, just watch the rest. Well, tonight was probably the first night that actually worked. That the card actually got better as the match went on. The night went on, or the day in our case. But let's start off with that Undisputed WWE Championship match. Cody Rhodes defending that championship against Gunther in a match that was set up just poorly, to say the least. I'm not even going to get into how it all got in. This match got set up with Paul Heyman coming in and all. Now, there's a story there, and they glanced over it. They glanced over it, which was kind of weird because that was the big thing. The fact that they were in the Royal Rumble together, they lost. Well, both of them lost the Royal Rumble, but yet and still, Cody Rhodes immediately got a championship match and won the title and hasn't lost it since or whatever. And Gunther is sitting there like, what is happening? Why he just gets a match, and the privilege aspect of it all, and all that, it was touched upon, but that wasn't the story, So we get into this match. I knew this was going to be a good match. Gunther doesn't have bad matches. Cody Rhodes can be boring at times, but if he's in there with the right opponent, he can give you a 5-star real quick. This was close, but no cigar. Gunther started off with the heavy chops, his patent move to knock the breastplate off of your chest. He starts off early with the chops. Cody, he retaliates with a Cody cutter. Gunther, he counters into another chop. Gunther attempts a sleeper hold. Cody Rhodes escapes it. He hits a pedigree. Um, Gunther, he lands a power bomb, but Cody Rhodes responds with a crossroads. He attempted a Cody cutter, and Gunther caught him with the sleeper hold instead, forcing him to grab the ropes in order to survive because he had it locked in. Cody Rhodes, he attempted his own sleeper hold to no avail. He did execute a Cody cutter and a crossroads at the end of the match to retain, but Gunther had his foot under the bottom rope, which should have broken the count, but the referee did not see it. Cody Rhodes saw it and pulled Gunther's foot out of it in the hold and got the 1, 2, 3. This was a decent match. It wasn't good, and we know that these two can give you a better match. Clearly, by the end, and with the controversy, not a clean victory on Cody's end, they're setting this up for bigger or better. I don't know if it's going to be in Saudi Arabia or they're saving it for SummerSlam, but I can see us getting another Cody versus Gunther match for the championship. This all was set up. This was just a setup match. You could tell in the middle with all of the big moves, it really wasn't a cerebral match like you would see from Gunther. It was just, let's get through it. and that's what they did. Got through it in order to set it up. Something like the match that we're going to talk about a little later with the Becky Lynch and Ruca, the match that they had at Saturday night's main event. That was just to set up this match tonight. So it's basically the same thing. Now, why you had to do this on a PLE opening match, hey, I guess to have the champion on the card, I suppose. But Cody Rhodes retains the undisputed WWE championship by defeating Gunther. I give this match a B-, possible C+. It's like in that middle area. I don't know where to put it. It's not average. It's not great. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how to grade this one because it was a banger at times. The match was good, and then it just turned into what it was. It was just a match to set up another match. But it was a good match. Good opener. I'll put it that way. Real good opener. Can't get mad at that. Plus, it was technically for free. And so we move on to our second match, which was also on ESPN. And this was for the WWE Women's Championship match, a rematch of their WrestleMania match just a couple of months ago. Rhea Ripley, who won that championship against Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. We get the rematch part 2. I must say that WrestleMania match between those two was really good. Was it great? Have I seen Rhea Ripley do better? Of course. The triple threat match between her, Io Sky, and Bianca Belair last year. Was that last year was probably the match of the year. That was great. And she's had great matches with Rhea Ripley is Rhea Ripley. So that's not there's no question that she's not going to come and perform. Their WrestleMania match between these two was really good. You know, I didn't think it was a banger, but I did feel it was the best Jade Cargill match. But that's not saying much because Jade Cargill is not, it's just not there. You know, I'm through trying to make excuses for Jade Cargill. Either you want it or you don't. And it just feels like, I don't know. But after watching this match, I can see that she is starting to click. This was the best. I don't care what nobody says. Granted, it's my opinion and my opinion alone, which means absolutely nothing. But this was the best Jade Cargill match I've seen. This is the Jade Cargill I was hoping to see when WWE signed her. This is what I was waiting for. What's up? What's the big deal? You know, what was the thing? I didn't really watch her in AEW, so I didn't know what she was all about. And so I can clearly see that she has all the physical attributes, but does she have the mental attributes? And no, early on, no. Up to this point, no. But I can see that she's finally turning that corner. This was an awesome match this was better than their WrestleMania 42 match. Now, not leaps and bounds better, but better. I think that now Jade Cargill still has a lot of work to do. As far as the selling, her selling is not, I don't know. Maybe it's because she has a resting, face just permanently scald on her face. She doesn't move emotionally. She cannot emote with her facial expressions. And it just doesn't, it just seems like she's just there, But her performance-wise, this was the best I've seen her. Now, I give a lot of credit to Rhea Ripley. I think Rhea Ripley called this match. Yeah, if you watched it closely, you can see Rhea Ripley talking to Jade throughout the match, whispering, calling the spots and whatnot. But the match was really good. It starts off, we have Rhea Ripley. She attempts a cannonball senton off the ring apron. Jade Cargill caught her and slammed her against the apron. Jade Cargill missed the charge, and she collided with the ring post. Rhea attempted a Rager's Edge, and Jade Cargill countered. She then attempted to execute the Jaded, but Rhea Ripley blocked it and hit the Rager's Edge to no avail. Jade Cargill, she hit a Blue Thunder Bomb, which was awesome. That was nice. She pulled it off nicely. But Rhea Ripley, she executed in what you call that? I don't know, a back body drop, some type of variation of it. B-Fab and Meechin, they finally came out, and I was waiting on this the entire night. I was waiting, at least the match, because the match was going too good up to this point. I'm like, they putting on a banger, and suddenly, here they come. I'm like, okay, they're gonna mess it up. This outside interference crap is gonna mess up the match. No, it didn't. It didn't mess it up. Now, they did help Jade Cargill survive a pinfall attempt by Rhea Ripley. She finally hit the riptide, but B-Fab was fumbling with I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but they botched the foot thing on the rope, but the referee saw it and kicked them both out. But before she kicked them out, or the ref kicked them out, we got an appearance from the queen, man. Charlotte Flair. And she took out B-Fab and Meechin, which allowed Cargill to execute a Jaded onto Rhea Ripley, but she survived because Charlotte Flair put Rhea's Ripley on the rope. This time the rep didn't see it. So Jade Cargill, she's distracted. She want to take out Charlotte Flair, but you don't take your eyes off of Rhea. Rhea finally hit the riptide once again onto Jade Cargill. 1, 2, 3. She retains her WWE Women's Championship and defeats Jade Cargill. This was really good. What made this so good, there was some actual storytelling in this match that I could see going forward. It's already been planted. Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair. I always figured we were going to get that at SummerSlam. I thought the title would probably be involved, but apparently not. Unless it's going to be a triple threat with Rhea back in the fold. But I'm tired of seeing. We done been it. Rhea got 2 victories over Jade Cargill, basically back to back. It's time to let it go. It's Now Jade did get her a couple of times on SmackDown and whatnot, and at Saturday night's main event. But when it mattered, Rhea Ripley defeated her. So we don't need to see that again. We're done with that. It's time to move on. Let's move on to this Charlotte Jade feud, and let's get a good match out of this. This should be a good one. I'm more excited for that than I was for Rhea and Jade. Even though we got some really good matches out of it, and I think Jade has grown out of this feud, and so this should be exciting moving forward. And looking at it from that prism, Rhea Ripley retaining her WWE Women's Championship by defeating Jade Cargill. I give this a B plus. This was a good match. Probably should have been the opener. I would have flip-flopped the two. I would have had this open the night and then have the Cody and Gunther match after this. If I was putting this card together. But that's in hindsight. On paper, yeah, I get why it was set like that, but in hindsight, I probably would have opened the night with this semi-banger. And so, the real opener, the one that you had to pay for, the one you needed to watch on the ESPN app, the first match technically is the rematch. And that's all you need to say. The rematch. This isn't for a title. This is the one match on this card that's not for the title. But why did it feel like it was the most important? It wasn't just me. It just felt like this one was bigger than any title that WWE have out of all 50 of them. We have the rematch between Femi and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, who seemingly retired at WrestleMania 42 after being squashed by Femi. I mean, that was a shock. The shock heard round the world. Beautiful way to not only go out, but to put over, And a couple of weeks ago when Brock returned, I was hot. I really was, because it cheapened what took place. At least that's what I was feeling. I was like, well, it didn't have the, it took away the impact of the moment at WrestleMania. Him leaving the boots and the gloves in the ring, Paul Heyman crying like his dog died and all this. It was super emotional, man, and I fell for it because I was like, man, Brock was a beast. Brock, I'm gonna miss Brock. I was caught in that moment like everybody else was, and when he returned, I'm like, okay, man, come on, man. That's like John Cena coming back for a match right now, or AJ Styles coming back for a match right now. It'll cheapen the moment that took place. And so, but with that being said, he never officially announced he was retiring. He left the gloves and the boots in the ring, which traditionally is retiring, but he never came out with a statement. It never. I don't think Paul Heyman addressed it. I don't think nobody talked about it. It was just implied that was that. So he comes back. We get this match set up again after Brock Lesnar hit like 4 F5s on Raw. We get this. And sure enough, that's basically what happened to set up this match. Or at least the start of this match. Brock Lesnar comes out and hit 4 consecutive F5s on Femi. He then applies the Kimura lock onto Oba after the F5s did absolutely nothing. Femi, he powered his way out of that. Brock Lesnar, he reapplied the hold again, but once again, Femi, he countered it and slammed Brock Lesnar into the turnbuckles. Femi attempted a choke slam. Brock Lesnar, he countered the choke slam with yet another F5. Femi countered another F5 attempt into a successful choke slam. They spill out into the ring. Lesnar, he whipped Femi into the ring post before applying the Kimura lock again. Femi broke out of it and slammed him into the ring post. Brock Lesnar was able to execute another F5 through the announce table, but Femi, man, bruh, this dude, bruh, I'm so excited to see what they do with this dude and scared at the same time because it's WWE. They're going to mess it up. But Femi, he stood up like a monster, bruh. After receiving that F5 through the table, his 6th up to this point, gets into the ring. Brock Lesnar is selling the heck out of this, bro. The look like, what else can I do to put this dude down? It was, once again, cinema. It was cinema. Uh, Femi attempts to fall from grace, but Lesnar counters it, which was pretty cool. Jumping over his head and hit yet another F5 onto Femi. Finally, after 7 F5s, we get 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar avenges his loss at WrestleMania by defeating Femi, which pretty much sets up, yet again, another setup, a rubber match, possibly at SummerSlam, which would be kind of poetic, is in Minnesota. Brock Lesnar from Minnesota. This will be the proper way for him to go out. To go out on his way. He deserved that. He does deserve that. Not to say he didn't deserve it at WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania. But I can understand. He didn't want to go out like that, getting squashed. He didn't want to go out like that. Let's get some money out of this. Because from the WWE TKO standpoint of it, there's money there. And look at it. Look what you got. You've gotten 2 awesome matches out of these 2 behemoths. So a third would be box office. Like I said, this was kind of billed to be the main event of this card. And it is the only match that did not have a championship on the line. That it sells itself. But yes, there are now even 1-to-1. You can expect a rubber match. I just don't see him doing it at in Saudi Arabia. It's too much money there. It's too much money not to do it at SummerSlam. And so that's my prediction. But yes, Brock Lesnar defeats Femi. I think this is Femi's first defeat on the main roster. So it is very monumental from that standpoint. We get our 4th match of the night, and it is for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch putting her championship on the line against Ruca, who, just got up to the main roster. Last month? Just got there, and she has an Intercontinental Championship match. This is stemming, as I mentioned a little while ago, these 2 had a match at Saturday Night Main Event. The match was called off, disqualification, because Becky Lynch pulled Jessica Carr, the ref, into Ruca and causing the match to stop. So out of retaliation, I think it was Nick Aldis, was it, who said that this match would take place at Clash in Italy, and it's going to be for the title this time. So here we are with this. I'm not going to break this one down. There's really nothing to break down on this one other than the fact that I like Ruca. I really do. I think she is definitely the future, if not the present. But she still has some work to do. She is so botchy, bro. And I know nerves play a factor. And with her skill set, it requires a lot of timing, a lot of being in the right spot. It's a lot that goes into her skill set, because she isn't a ground and pound wrestler. She isn't a technical Kurt Angle, Chad Gable type. She's a high flyer, and she really just does big spots. That's her thing. But I think she has the ability to work around that. She's basically Lita 2.0. She's another Lita, and I think she can be really, really good over time. But I think they're moving too fast with her. I'm not 100% with her winning this. She defeated Becky Lynch in a match that, if it wasn't for Becky Lynch, in her experience, her knowledge in the ring, this would have been a disaster, because it was so botchy. Now I get it, from WWE standpoint, and I'm not mad at the fact that she got the belt. It's just the fact that she needs to work on her in-ring a little bit more and try to shake off these nerves. If you're ready for the big time, you got to be able to shake off the nerves. And it just feels like nerves. That's the reason she's a little botchy. And it throws everything off. Like I said, Becky Lynch did a lot of saving here. She really wore a cape throughout this match. And with that being said, big ups to Becky Lynch. I do not think she is getting the credit she deserves. Like a Bayley, right? Bayley has no problem, at least publicly. I don't know privately behind the curtains or whatever, but she doesn't have a problem putting people over, other people over, the younger talent over. That is awesome. That is what you're supposed to do as a veteran. Becky Lynch is just as great at it. And what makes Becky Lynch a little more special is the fact that she's allowing these young talents to beat her for the belt. Maxine Dupree, who has no business inside of a ring, but Becky Lynch made her look like something inside the ring. If you don't believe me, when the last time have you seen Maxine Dupree wrestle on Raw, SmackDown, anything, since she had that little feud with Becky Lynch? You have it, because Becky Lynch is the reason she looked the way she looked in the ring, the best that she could look. Same thing here with Sol Ruca. Now, Sol Ruca, to her credit, is a good wrestler. Like I said, I watched her on NXT. If you watch some of her matches, like at Saturday night's main event for the John Cena last match, a couple of matches she had on Raw and even on SmackDown when Zarya was there, and she had some really good match. She really can do some in-ring work, but it was Becky, bro. Shouts out to Becky. I'm loving. I was getting tired, and I said I wasn't gonna take long on this match, but I ended up taking long. I really, really love this Jessica Carr Becky Lynch dynamic. At one point I was like, it's time to let this go. This was going on way too long. But no, I don't feel like that. This can go on forever. I love this dynamic that these two have. I pay more attention to those two than whoever's Becky wrestling at the time. That's how good of a story this is. Long form storytelling at its finest between those two. But nonetheless, Becky Lynch did get her soul snatched as she loses her Women's Intercontinental Championship. Sol Ruca, your new WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion. I give this match a C. It was a C. It was fine. It wasn't bad. It was botchy, yes, but sadly I've grown accustomed to botches as of late. But it was fine. It was just fine. Anyway, let's move on to the main event. Tribal Combat for the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns putting that championship and the Lure of Fire, if I say it right, putting that on the line against Jacob Fatu in this Tribal Combat match. Look, man, I already know. I can hear it in the internet wrestling community. I can hear everybody complaining about, oh man, WWE's running out of ideas. They're going back to the bloodline and all this other food. Good. That was the best thing on television. That's what kept WWE going for the better part of 5-6 years until it ran its course a couple of years ago. And not ran its course, but had a brick wall by the name of Cody Rhodes hit them at WrestleMania 41. Ever since then, it has been dog water out here, man. It's not been good wrestling on television. Storytelling, nowhere on television since the bloodline disbanded, since Roman went into hiding. Now that he's back, now that he has the title, now that he's I guess he done brought the Usos back into the fold. Now we got some storytelling. Now this is interesting. This is a soap opera now, especially at the end of this match. We got more to look forward to. This was a really good match. Nothing out of the ordinary. This wasn't the greatest of things. It was a banger, but it took a while to get to the banging. It was about 10, 12 minutes in where I was like, oh, man, this is boring. This is boring. And it's sad because, I mean, they were working in the ring. It was just a repeat of what we saw at Backlash. And I'm like, okay, we're going through the same motions, you know. This is not what I came to see. This is tribal combat, which is basically a no disqualification, man. That's all it is. That's it. It's not. There's no special weaponry or anything to signify it's tribal combat. It's non-sanctioned. That basically. And so once it really start to heat up, working on the outside, finishers being applied and nothing, shaking them off, it turned into a WrestleMania main event. It turned into a tribal combat match, you know, people going through tables, all the turnbuckles being exposed. It was wow. And I was waiting on the shenanigans. I was waiting on who was going to run out. Was it going to be the Usos? Are we going to get a new bloodline member? Maybe Zilla Fatu come in and interrupt or something like that. I was waiting. But no, this was clean. Ish. Clean-ish to say it was a tribal combat match. Yeah, there were low blows. I think Roman low blowed Jacob Fatu, 3 times in this match? I mean, you had to do what you had to do, but he got it done. By the end, after, 3 or 4 Superman punches throughout the match. In one sequence, which I super enjoyed, Roman Reigns hit the Superman punch like 3 consecutive times, and Jacob Fatu did his dance to shake him off. You know, it was like the Hogan thing. It was cool to see that. Cool to see that Jacob Fatu, he wasn't weakened by this match. He was not, even though he lost, he didn't lose anything in my eyes. I think this really sets up an even bigger dynamic. Yeah, he can't get past Roman, but he can't get past Roman not right now. Not right now. You know, maybe later. Hit him when he's wounded, but right now, no. He's getting his kingdom back, and not till he's at full strength should he be taken down. So I knew right off the bat that Roman was going to win. I was just hoping for an exciting match. We eventually got it after kind of a slow opener, but the storytelling was there. I failed to mention to start it off, this match was in jeopardy. At one point, they were going to cancel this match because going by reports, they were saying that Jacob Fatu was injured, and I can kind of at certain moments throughout the match, it looked like he wasn't Jacob Fatu, but that didn't stop him from doing what he did. You know, he still came off the top rope. He still performed the way he normally performs. It just took a while. It took a while to get there, but thankfully, it all worked out in the end, and the match went off. And must say, banger match. It took 50 spears and 40 Superman punches, but Roman Reigns did retain the World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Jacob Fatu. I give this match a strong B+. It was really, really good, and it set up so much more for Raw. For the first time in God knows how long, I'm excited for Raw tomorrow night. I'm excited to see what happens next, because now you have Jacob Fatu. He has to acknowledge Roman Reigns as his tribal chief. Then you have the MFTs who popped up after the match, standing in the audience. What does that mean? Is there a bloodline civil war once again? Or are they going to join back up? Or is that Roman's next target? Is he going to go after Solo Sikoa? Because he is basically the one who tore the family apart into these two factions. And so there's a lot there that they can play with, and I'm happy. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Because it's story to be told here. It's a soap opera here that I am all ready for, man. I'm excited for Raw tomorrow night, but Clash in Italy, it's a thumbs up show, high thumbs up show. I'm glad to see that WWE is kind of turning that corner. You know, it can still be better, but you know, these some good PLEs I've watched over the last few weeks. You know, going back to Backlash. Backlash was good. Saturday Night Main Event was pretty good, and this was pretty good. So I'm happy because we was in a long streak of I don't know, man. I wouldn't even call them PLEs. They were like Raw Juniors and SmackDown Juniors. They weren't even PLE level, but we're good right now. We're doing pretty decent right now. But that's just one man's opinion. I want to know, what did you think of Clash in Italy? Did you enjoy the matches? What do you think is next for Roman Reigns? Rhea Ripley. Who's next for her? Who will challenge her for that title now that she's moved on from Jade Cargill? And this Gunther Cody Rhodes day with the controversial finish. When will we get a resolution to that? How will we get a resolution to that? I want to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to Faces and Heels, your podcast for professional wrestling here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this recap of WWE's Clash in Italy. In case you don't know, the next WWE PLE will be on June the 27th, and that will be Night of Champions from Saudi Arabia. So it'll be another middle of the day one. If I'm not mistaken, I think that one would take place, but at least that one's on a Saturday. But I think it's going to be in the middle of the day as well. But I'll be there regardless. I'll be there, and hopefully y'all will come back as well and listen to us recap Night of Champions from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Until then, y'all be cool. I'll be talking to you on the next one. Peace.